Okay, my video for today is, let me go find it here. I'm going to continue on with mathematical theology, and I've added a lot to this. I've put a link to here, and I'm adding a lot here, and I'm not making a video for everything I add. So if anyone's interested in this, and I hope they are, because I think there's a lot of interesting thoughts here. Once again, they're just thoughts. They're not assertions of truth. I'm not saying this is what it is. I'm saying this is what it kind of looks like, or just might be, or kind of our different take. So here I added a lot to this chart here. So let me go here and show this. So here, I'll probably spend most of the video on just this chart, but once again, this is extemporaneous, so who knows what I'll talk about? I don't know. So at Revelation 5:6, and I saw between the throne, and that's the throne of God, with the four living creatures and the elders, apparently, and the elders, apparently 12 on either side, and maybe V-shaped, and then there's the four living creatures before the throne. A lamb standing as if slain, having 7 horns and 7 eyes, and which are the 7 spirits of God, sent out into all the earth. So there's a lot here. There's a lot. And now, like Psalm 1 talks about meditating on God's law day and night, and a person's blessed from doing that. And meditating, how to meditate, isn't just make stuff up like vain imaginings, and it's not just common sense. And in fact, just how to meditate, the Bible doesn't really tell us, but here's my thoughts, once again, thoughts, not teachings on this, is that when you look at common sense, and you kind of look at, here's the lamb, there's the 7 spirits, spiritual eyes, and there's the physical eyes where you see the world. And the common sense is, what it kind of means is common to all men, whether you're Einstein or Jack the Ripper or Al Capone or Adolf Hitler or Mother Teresa, you all have this common sense. And a lot of people appeal to common sense as if this is just some higher authority. Oh, that's just common sense says this. It's not a higher authority, it's a common authority, it's a common ground. And like you say, you're appealing to the same awareness that Al Capone has, and Adolf Hitler, and Joseph Stalin, and everyone else. So it's not it's not the trump card that people maybe think it is. Trump card, common sense says this. It's more of the kind of the bottom line, the most base thing. It's like, just this is what everybody would know. The most average person. So I think some people mistake that for a trump card when it's not the trump card. It's a 2. It's the lowest denomination card. It's the card that everybody gets. So everybody has it. That's why it's called common. And another way to kind of look at it as common sense is you have, they talk about the 6th sense, but actually I count 7 senses: hearing, sight, smell, taste, touch, sense of heat, hot or cold, and balance. So each one of those, and we seem to have them all represented here, and that ears for hearing, eyes for sight, nose for smell, touch. It's like a lamb. They touch noses because they got fur, so they're not really touching where the nose is skin. So if you want to put skin to skin, there's the nose, and then there's taste, which is the tongue. Hot or cold, that's pointing to the fur, which keeps it warm, and balance. And so my view of meditating is I have these simple rules: don't add, don't subtract. And when I say one-to-one mapping, I mean, an eye maps to one. If something maps to multiple things, it means it's a subgroup. Like this lamb maps to 7, because so that's sort of a subcategory. So it's not a one-to-one mapping; it's a one-to-n mapping. So that's what I was trying to say the other day. Is one-to-n mapping is you're defining this is sort of a set, and here's the elements of the set. That's one-to-many mapping, and one-to-one mapping is analogous. And we have like two eyes, 2 ears, 2 nostrils, one tongue, but there's symmetry there, left teeth and right teeth, and top teeth and bottom teeth. So there's probably things there, symmetries. And that's the other thing I look for, symmetries. And the brain has a left half and a right half brain. So there's like the intellect and the will. And so you kind of see this topology developing here. These 3 seem to be different. These 3 for the will. This is for the heart. And the heart has 4 chambers, but it's not doesn't have a left-right symmetry. And so it's kind of the center of these things. So now, and when I'm saying that, when you say life is like a bowl of cherries, it's like cherries weren't designed to, or at least as far as I think, to represent life. But when the Bible uses the image, God is picking that specifically to represent something. And so it's not like just some human analogy. It has to be seen with spiritual eyes. But when you do that, you can't just make up anything, and you say, well, eye has light, and there's the speed of light. So this is talking about the speed of light. Well, you're kind of adding something. It doesn't really, you don't really get the speed of light in here. Maybe you do, but you need to have something that keeps you grounded. And so my little rules here keep me grounded is like, okay, let's do a word search. We have hearing, so let's go do a word search. And I'm only picking one passage here, 1 or 2, where we could go look at many of them. Let me go show that here. I've got to go to here. Go do a little searching here. See, like balance. There's like 3 here, but let's just say sight. Oops, got this wrong. Let's try this again. And you can see there's just tons and tons of passages there, and I just picked one that's kind of seems to fit the best. So let me go back to where I was here. So this is just one, but you could go do a word search and look at many of them. And so one is, so faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the word of Christ. So hearing the word, so hearing, well, you need to hear the preacher. When the preacher preaches, you need to listen, because if the preacher is worth their salt, and they're, and salt and light, and if salt loses its saltiness, it's worth nothing. So if that preacher is worth their salt, they're asking God to tell them what to say in that sermon. And so maybe you need to hear that. So listen to the sermon. And I always try to, I always think a good sermon is one that seems to be directed just to me. It's speaking to me. And that's what I pray for, that preacher is going to speak just to me. Not just to me, but to me. Now, God could use that same preacher to speak just to you and just to the other person in the pew, to your left and right and in front and behind. They could speak to everyone where it seems like they're just speaking to you. So faith comes from hearing. So, and then let's go to sight. We walk by faith, not sight. So this sight here is kind of useful, and it helps in this world and people with common sense. But you need to see with spiritual eyes, and you need the Spirit to see those things. And so when the scripture says, he who has an eye to see, it's probably talking about these eyes, spiritual eyes, 7 spirits of God, not your physical eyes. So let's move on to the smell. But thanks be to God, who always leads us in triumph in Christ and manifests through us the sweet aroma of the knowledge of him in every place. So the sweet aroma. And we also hear about this incense, like the prayers of the saints. So, and then when we do it, and also another thing to just keep one from just making up stuff, and I talked about that earlier, like a crossword puzzle, if you just make up stuff, you can put anything down on a crossword puzzle, make it work. That's not the idea of doing these checks. But we're told, test the spirits. So even though we try not to see what our physical eyes want to try to see what our spiritual eyes, that doesn't mean everything we think is spiritual we should go for, because we're told to test the spirits. But we're not really told how to test the spirits. So, at least explicitly. So maybe it, but when you come to like hearing, there's another verse is my sheep, and should have put this in here. My sheep know the sound of my voice. That's another one. So, how do you learn the sound of your voice? His voice, and you could be mistaken. It could be the devil trying to pass himself off as Christ. And so here I go back to the crossword puzzle analogy. I picked that for a reason. You have to kind of cross-check, like a pilot looks at his instruments he's flying. He cross-checks them because he checks his attitude, and he checks his airspeed and his descent rate, because some of those sensors sometimes go wrong, and he has his own sense. But he can't trust his own sense if he's flying instruments, because he could be upside down pulling G's and think he's level. So he can't trust his own senses, and particularly in the weather, flying instruments. But those instruments can be wrong too, so he has to cross-check them. So we have these things to cross-check. So so there's the hearing test. Does it sound like Jesus? Is it the sound of his voice? And then there's the sight test. Does it look funny? Well, let me show you what I meant here. Let me go to here, say, lamb with, type in one hand, 7 eyes. Go to images. Okay. That doesn't seem right. It just looks weird. So this lamb represents Jesus. And it's not passing the sight test for me. It's like, this just looks weird. You know, I'm not sure where the 4 horns come from either. A lot of them show it, so maybe there's some place that talks about. Oh, here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 horns. You know, it just looks weird. So to me, this isn't passing the sight test. So let me go back to here. I want to go back to. Let's see. I go here, and finding my way around is always hard. Oh, I want to go here. Okay, and I'm going to go back to that's the danger when I go off, trying to find my way back. Why am I not seeing this? Click here again. Oh, maybe it is here. I'll go here. Okay. I can't find it. I'll have to try again. Okay, I found it. I'm back. So here, back to here. I'll probably edit that out, but if I don't, I'm just going to put a link in the video where you can jump past this outage. And, you know, there's the passage that says, all things work for good for those who love him. And so that's another one of the rules I use is you know, when things like this happen, you say, drat, that happened, it's bad. And I thought, well, wait a minute, all things work for good, so maybe there's some good in having this break here. Well, now, once again, that's my other rule is don't try to force things. You know, I knew a coworker who was a camera bug, and he says, never force a thing on a camera. It's a delicate machine. Never force it. So you want to be gentle with it, not force things. So back to where we had the sight test, we had the hearing test, then there's the smell test, and then there's the taste test. Taste and see that the Lord is good. How blessed is the man who takes refuge in him. So taking refuge in him is part of seeing that even things that when it seem to go bad, that may be good. So, and, you know, if somebody's watching this video and they think, well, they're probably not, so far I don't think many people or any people are watching it. But my thought there is, well, if it's worth watching, what a pity there's not anybody watching. If it's not worth watching, well, no big deal. If it's not worth watching, no big deal that nobody's watching it. So I don't have to worry about whether people are watching or not. I just need to worry about whether it's worth watching. Beyond that, that's beyond. And then the other thing is, if you're looking for truth, there's truth and goodness. And the will, which makes choices, and the intellect that rules on things like, is this true or false? That's what the will kind of says, is this true or false? The intellect, the will is, or is this good or bad? Now, it's not good or bad in the ultimate sense. That's kind of righteousness. In the ideal sense, it means in a more practical sense, does this have a return of investment, ROI? Is there a ROI here? Where the heart determines the ultimate good, the desires of the heart. Delight in the Lord, and the delight is more of an intellectual thing. You think it's true that this is good. I mean, Aquinas talks about truth and goodness being interchangeable, or he didn't use the word interchangeable, but it's something that means that. And that if something is, he's saying, if there's something that's true, then it's good. And if it's good, it's true. And you might think, well, disease is bad. Yeah, but we just said God could use it for good. And, you know, Pharaoh, Joseph's brothers sold him into slavery. But then later on, they meant it for evil, but God used it for good. So at any rate, there's the taste test, taste to see if it's good. Then after we test the spirits, there's the touch. See my hands and my feet. That is, myself, touch me and see. For our spirit does not have flesh and bones, as you see that I have. And we read the spirit of the Antichrist is the one that says Jesus did not come in the flesh. So the touch, and many people tried to touch his garments and be healed, and Jesus would touch people to heal them. So have you been touched? Is it touching? It touches your heart. And you can see the touch is the nose, and it's in the center branch here. See, once again, in our crossword puzzle, we got all these different directions, up, down, left, right. We might have an n-dimensional crossword puzzle, not just two-dimensional. So, okay, then there's the touch test. Then there's the hot and cold test. You know, I know your deeds, that you are neither cold nor hot. I wish that you were cold or hot. So because you are lukewarm and neither cold nor hot, I will spit you out of my mouth. And a lot of people think hot means on fire for the Lord and cold means cold to the Lord. But I don't think that's what it means, because you read it, it says he's spitting you out of his mouth. It would, if you read it that way, you'd say, if you're lukewarm, I'm going to spit you out of my mouth, and if you're cold, I'm really going to spit you out of my mouth. And I've heard some people say, well, God doesn't want you on the fence. He either wants you really hot, good, or cold, bad. But then it implies that he's only spitting the lukewarm out of his mouth. He's not spitting the hot or the cold. So I'm thinking hot is more like the will, the motions, and cool is like the cool intellect. So these could be kind of the intellectual, or you could be warm-blooded and out there helping people, visiting the lame, the sick, the prisoners, or you could be writing great works and doing things more along the intellectual lines. It would be a Bible scholar. and then, which brings us to the next one, is balance. And you need a balance. A false balance is an abomination to the Lord, but a just weight is his delights. And a just balance and scales belong to the Lord. All the weights in the bag are his concern. So you might think God doesn't really care about balance. He says, no, he cares about balance. Even if you're an intellectual, you still want to do a good deed every now and then. If you see somebody in need, and you have the means to help, you should help. And then we also read that the body has many parts, and if only we had sight, where would be the sense of smell, or whichever sense? I can't remember which one it was. Just read it recently. And then there's the heart, and then there's the heart test. Does it speak to your heart? So if you just use one or two of these, you're not taking you could get out of balance and out of whack. And once again, you put one wrong piece in, like you think the devil is speaking to you when you think God's speaking to you when it's the devil, then how are you going to learn the sound of his voice? You're going to get that all wrong. So here's an example of how, if you just read this passage, you think, gee, what does that mean? That's kind of weird. That's looking at it with your physical eyes, or if you hear it read, with your physical ears. So how do you go look at with spiritual eyes? Well, I don't know how, but maybe something along like this is, when you meditate, you first think, well, this is God speaking. This is not just an average human. So it's not going to be, I don't use the same rules I would use for a human, because God, his ways are not our ways, and his thoughts are not our thoughts. They're vastly above us. So maybe so rather than blowing off this passage and saying, I don't know what it means, move on to the next passage, is like, okay, this is important. It's like, this is telling me something. It's like you have to walk through a minefield, and somebody here's a map where all the mines are. And he's like, and you need to memorize that map before you cross that minefield. You're like, okay, I'm going to memorize it. So maybe this is just like that. This passage, you just blow off and think, I don't know what it means. Well, did you ask God, what does it mean? And what does it mean to me? And, not just in general, but what does it mean to me? And if I don't get it, well, maybe it's because I'm not meditating on God's word day and night. I'm not doing my homework. So I just want answers to the test. I don't want to learn the material. Is another analogy. So I'll probably could end this. I'm going to rework this one. I got a lot on my list. I went and moved. Go down here. This down here, because I'm trying to put these in pretty much the order they show up in Revelation. And why is this two witnesses? There's something weird here that's not working right, because there should be link lines here. I thought, what? These lines aren't showing up. So let me go out of here. Oh, I'm back. They're not showing up. So I got technical problems as well as all my other problems. But so probably this is long enough, particularly with that long, awkward pause where I was looking for something. But you know what? I'm going to use that for good again. Yeah, my link lines are not showing up, so I may have to close this, reopen it. So let me try that. Reopen it. Mathematical theology. Yeah, they're showing up now, my little link lines. And see, I'm not complaining. I got great tools. This is a great tool, but once again, if I move something, I can't move. I have to move it all one at a time. So if I want to make more room here, I got to move this, and I got to move that, and so that's kind of why it's kind of like I'm trying to make this really easy to understand, and it's not spoon feed. It's more like make it more accessible. But there's only so much I could do in the limited time I have, and once again, my carpal tunnel is limiting. I can only push mouse so much in a day. So anyway, and I don't know where this is leading, but once again, I'm trying to break it all into more bite-sized pieces, so you don't just get hit by everything at once. And so one could go to this website and read these, and then go do their own search and meditate. But what I was trying to show here is not, oh, this is how you meditate. Is more like, well, here's a way. It's maybe not the way, but it is a way. Here's a way to do it. That doesn't mean there's not other ways. They're just as good or better. It just means this is a way. So if you don't know any way, having an a way gets you started, and then maybe you can find better ways, or ways that work better for you. So let me end. I think I can end the video here. That's, when I start reading these, and once again, these are sort of like, I'm not saying these things mean anything other than they fit my criteria, like one-to-one mapping or one-to-n mapping. I haven't added anything. I haven't subtracted anything. And I look for symmetry, and if I can't find symmetry, I look for that to mean something even more. So, and then I thought, human analogies you carry too far, but when God picks a symbol, who are we to say, oh, it only goes so far? On the other hand, we don't want to go to make ridiculous comparisons, like, well, there's 7 things here, and I just saw 7 pickup trucks drive by. Well, you just added something. 7 pickup trucks isn't in the Bible that you saw. So you say those 7 pickup trucks got to have to do with the 7 eyes. And it's like, yeah, really? I'm not sure. You just added something. There's nothing about 7 pickup trucks in there. And it might have something to do with it, but I would take it. It's not, to me, passing all the tests. That doesn't pass the smell test for me. So anyway, let me end the video here. It's gone on long enough, and I'm probably not going to edit it out because it's gotten long, and I'll see if I could edit out. But no, I'm going to leave it in there, and just put a link so one could jump to past that. So let me end.